Hey, it's Thursday, Anthony, and we are live. I'm excited to do another fun show with you today.
I've read every book on that shelf behind me, FYI.
Wow.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
I'd like to brag, Anthony, but I have read every book that you see here as well. For you audio listeners, that would be 0. I'm Glenn Hausman. That's Anthony Melcuri. Thanks for spending time with us watching No Vacancy Live. Anthony, how are you doing today, man?
Finally got my office renovated, so I'm coming live from my office. How are you?
Good. I am coming live from my office, but I'm still feeling on the dead side. You know, slept a little bit last night, but
no, the dead is a different generation. You're feeling a little fishy.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I'll be going to see the Dead on May 30th at Sphere, Las Vegas. If anyone's going to that show, drop me a line. Let's do a happy hour. And
It's so funny. Most people have no idea who Fish is. Fish, is your that's your temple, and now everybody in Main Street media is listening.
It's kind of like we're all starting to get a little panicky because it's hard enough to get tickets as it is. You don't need any more people coming in there. You know.
So, is my mic working better now?
Dr. Suzanne producer Suzanne is working on it. All right, so listen to this, Anthony. We've been talking about the construction pipeline, deals aren't getting done, and all of this stuff. And our buddies over at Lodging Econometrics reported their first quarter 2024 numbers. There are 6,065 projects with 702,990 rooms in the pipelines here in the United States.
Hold on.
9% year-over increase in projects. Hold on one sec. 7% up in rooms and an all-time high. Okay, take it away.
606,000 hotels, you said?
6,065.
6,065, and you said 700,000 rooms?
702,990 rooms, representing a 9% year-over increase in projects and 7% year-over-year increase in rooms.
I'm doing your math. Hold on.
I think hotels are an average of what? 125 rooms?
Well, based on that average, 106 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Where the math is 125 rooms is the separation point of more labor. Meaning, if you have 125 to 175 rooms, like a rooms-only hotel, you have to increase labor a little bit. If you have 50 rooms to 125 rooms, labor is the same outside of housekeeping. So 125 to 175 rooms is kind of, to me, where you always want to be when you own a hotel. 175 to 225 is still manageable, and 225 and above is when you're getting into mid-level managers, more supervisors, more expense. So I like 125 to 175 room hotel.
That's interesting. I love that kind of perspective because I don't understand any of that kind of stuff.
Well, look at it. If you have 125 rooms only hotel, no food and beverage, free breakfast. You put out breakfast in the morning, you need one attendant, right? Set it up, put it out. It's a cold breakfast. Yeah. Then you need a couple of desk clerks. You need a hotel manager. You need an engineer on every shift, right? Depending on your brand, you need an internal salesperson. Maybe you don't. You pay the brand for that. You have an accountant, maybe, in your corporate office because you own other buildings or whatever it is. It's very manageable. But once you get to 175 rooms, it gets a little bit more where you need more supervisors. 225 is where you should hire a company like mine. Don't hire me, hire anybody you want. But anytime you get to 225, it gets a little sticky.
Yeah, well, that's fascinating. Also, just quick, renovation and brand conversions are also seeing significant growth. No surprise. We've called this the year of conversion opportunities over there. 2,041 projects representing over 266,000 rooms. That's also a new record high as well, with brand conversions in particular, growing 14% year over year. Now, I'm going to be next week, Anthony. I'm going to be at the Choice Hotels Conference hotel design expos going on at the same time. I'm going to catch up with Bruce Ford of Lodging Econometrics and dive into those numbers a little bit more. But the point you make is so important, Anthony. The more rooms you have, the more people we need in order to satisfy those customers. And it's still—
I think you're making a segue. I think you're making a segue.
Ah, you're picking up on it, baby. I'm very excited about that. And one of the problems we have is we're not really addressing all of the people out there that could, would, and probably should, because this business is so awesome, work in the hotel business. So we're bringing on today a wonderful person. Her name is Hannah Olson, a former student of Dr. Producer Suzanne, who's the CEO and co-founder of Disclo, which is helping find folks that aren't traditionally hired into the market, those with disabilities and special needs. Hannah, welcome. Let me start by saying, what a wonderful idea and service you're doing for these people and for our industry. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so how does it work? So tell us how the program works, how you got involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned, was a hospitality student at BU and was actually sick myself with a chronic health condition. And so as I entered the workplace and wanted to take on a career in hospitality, unfortunately, I saw firsthand that it wasn't really built for people like me with chronic illnesses and disabilities. And so back in 2018, started my first company, which was actually the recruiting company called Chronically Capable, still exists today, helping folks with chronic illnesses and disabilities like myself connect to employers that can support people and support their diverse needs. And we ended up starting a second business called Disclo, and that's focused on how we can help accommodate our employees, which, oftentimes the hospitality industry, I think is very tough on people's bodies. And so folks who may be dealing with anything physical, emotional, mental, it's not always built for those folks. And so we're trying to help folks access the accommodations that they need. So different kind of accommodations than hospitality. We're talking about workplace accommodations. But again, super excited to be here. Happy to chat further about all things HR.
I have a job that I need filled. I'm opening a hotel. How do I work with you, and how does it, how do you connect everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the Chronic Capable front, we have a job platform so if you're going out to recruit talent, you can open up your positions to our community. We've got tens of thousands. I think we're at 90,000 right now.
Wow.
Active job seekers who are looking for employers like you all. And then if you're looking to actually support your current people, that's when you can use Disclo to help access accommodations for your employees and help to manage that whole process.
Wow. That's really interesting. So when somebody taps into this, obviously you're not going to specifically talk about what disabilities they have or special needs, because that doesn't really work. But I'm sure their employers are concerned because, well, if they get involved in this, then this person is going to have all of these requirements and may take a lot of time off. And is it really going to be worth my time? How could you help dispel that kind of negativity that can surround something like this?
Absolutely. What we're trying to do is show that just because you're living with a disability doesn't mean you're not capable. Right. I think, especially folks with disabilities, they bring a lot of unique perspectives to the workplace.
Right.
We think about the kind of soft skills that we all want in our people, things like empathy, good time management, being able to make adjustments on the fly. These are a lot of skills that people with disabilities have had to create or had to gain on their own. And so we really try to focus on the unique strengths of folks and how we can best support them and being able to do their job. Because just because you're living with something doesn't mean you're not able to contribute and be a great employee.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me as well. So, what are some of the ways that people are, maybe some case studies you have of people that have been put into hotels, they've been able to get that job, and people are finding success?
Yeah, so we're not working with any hotel brands yet. So if you're out there listening, please definitely reach out. I think the hospitality industry in particular is so ripe for some support for people, because again, it's so tough on our bodies.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you're having to deal with others and work, in customer facing positions. And if you're dealing with illness or disability, oftentimes that can be a struggle. But some examples of companies we're working with, it looks like it's up on the screen now.
Yeah.
So we've been supporting some awesome organizations like Samsung, Kraft Heinz. So that's, I think, our most hospitality-esque business today. I was very excited when I found out my favorite mac and cheese company was going to be a client of ours. But
Awesome.
what we really do is help folks to disclose their condition at work and to ask for accommodations. And those could be things like, I need a little extra time between my meetings. Or if you have, for example, if you're someone with inflammatory bowel disease and you need to use a shared restroom every day, helping to get access to a private space. So we're trying to help folks to be able to get access to that support.
Has the move to remote working helped you be more successful in helping people find career development and employment?
Absolutely. I think, as we've seen the world shift remote and now we're all returning back to the office, there's been just a fundamental shift in how we think about workplace flexibility. Before, remote work was something that you had to beg for, and very often, or more often than not, it wasn't granted and you weren't able to work from your house. But then during the pandemic, we saw just how easy it was to accommodate folks and to let them have that flexibility. And so it's definitely, I think, more than anything, just changed our perspective of work can be flexible, even if we're in high demand.
Have you approached the hotel brands like Marriott and Hilton?
Not yet. You want to help me?
Yes. Well, he's the man to help you with all those connections as well. Yes. The answer is, Glenn, can we kind of mesh them together?
Well, kind of, this is our first start today, right? Making sure everybody knows that this is out there and how important it is. So, environment on which they could thrive and succeed. And additionally, if someone can only work X amount of weeks, maybe I'd want to engage multiple people instead of thinking about just one hire that could work, 3 people working 12, 13 hours a week, for example. How do you see that, Hannah?
Absolutely. So the best way to describe this is think TurboTax. So as you know, taxes are really hard to do and no one would want to sit there and manually fill out all their taxes. So if you're a TurboTax user, you know that it takes this kind of complex and boring process of your taxes and creates a really nice step-by-step guided process. And so similarly, we help walk people through disclosing their health condition to their employer, asking for that accommodation. Again, that can be, I need extra time, or I need to be able to have more frequent breaks. And then we help to actually verify that to make sure it's legitimate. So we'll go directly to their medical provider and we'll make sure that their condition is legitimate and what they're asking for is required. But really trying to create a space where people can feel comfortable asking for support, because the one thing that we don't want is people not saying anything and then just suffering in silence and sometimes slacking off or acting tired around customers. So we're really trying to be proactive about this.
This is an interesting time, and I love that you folks are doing this verification and stuff behind the scenes to make sure that it's legit. Because one of the things that is bothering me so much is that people claiming things when it's not legitimate right now, and it puts companies in a really bad, difficult position. The big notable example that's popping up right now is the Disability Accessibility Service, the DAS passes that the Disney company offers at Walt Disney World. So many people have been scamming that system that now they have to change it. They're bringing in outside partners in order to help with this, but it's got to be difficult to thread the line between what's appropriate when it comes to what you're doing and what employers are doing and what then tips into the inappropriate and illegal. So what are some of the rules out there so that people, when they're engaging you, they can go into it with an open mind, knowing that, they're going to be fine, they're going to be safe, and they're not getting themselves into a situation that could be problematic?
Yeah. So I think the big thing here is that most folks, and I think, employers today oftentimes think that they're invincible and that these laws don't apply to them. But fun fact, the Americans with Disabilities Act is a federal law that applies to any company with 15 employees or more. So that's a pretty small, that could be a restaurant group, right? Even just a small mom and pop shop restaurant. And you're required under the ADA to support folks who have reasonable requests. And so what we're doing is making sure that companies stay compliant, that they have all of the documentation, all of the support that they need through the process. And so they don't have to tap their lawyers every time they need something. They can come right into our system and get that support.
Yeah, because I could just see people going, I don't want to get involved in this. It's too complicated. It's too much. I could be getting myself in trouble. But it sounds like every single thing you're doing is to ensure an emotionally and satisfying, profitably relationship between the two groups. Anthony?
The good news is every person that walks around the airports with a service dog that has a little vest on is 100% legit. I checked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't stand those scammers, because there are so many real people out there could benefit from opportunity, but because of all of that stuff, they get overlooked even more. And I think that's just gross and unfair to people that need some special accommodation. Yeah.
Even a little motorized thing in the airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
They bring you to your gate. I thought that was just for like old and handicapped people, but apparently anybody can get on that thing, because the guy asked me, "You want to get on?" I go, and he drove me across the airport. And I didn't realize I was allowed to get on too. Wow. And like, that should be cool. Like they should just pick up people who are having a problem, older people who can't walk across the airport. But yeah, you're right. It's everybody will go out of their, most people go out of their way to help someone that needs support. But when people like the service dogs, like now everybody paints the brush across, saying, okay, people with a service dog, they're all illegitimate because everybody has a service dog.
Right.
And that's unfair.
Yeah. I will say,
when you see a service dog in the airport, what's your first thought, Glenn?
Unfortunately, my first thought is, come on, you know, but unless you see a real dog, you know, that's got the vest on, you could tell. I don't know how, you know, I can't stand the scammers, and there's no real way to tell the
lady with the boat. That's not legit.
Yeah. All right. But let's focus on the positive here about what a great opportunity this is. In order to find people to work in your hotel, you need those positions. And there are so many great people that are out there and eager for the opportunity. And Hannah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I bet those people are going to be great employees, because it is so difficult and challenging that for them to find a workplace that they feel comfortable in, that these people are probably going to be highly engaged employees right from the start.
Absolutely. Engaged, grateful. And then what does every employer want? It's to retain their people. And so if you've got engaged and loyal folks, hopefully they'll stay in that company for a long time. And so, yeah. And just to clarify, I think, you know, we all have an idea in our head of disability, and we might think immediately wheelchair. We may think someone with a hearing impairment, or someone who's blind, for example, but disability looks like a lot of things.
Right.
This could be, I've got anxiety, and or I'm living with addiction, or I'm pregnant. Believe it or not, that comes into this group as well. So
that's a lot of things for you to be dealing with at once, Hannah. And I'm just,
sorry.
I said that's a lot for you to be dealing with at once, Hannah. I'm just joking. But
I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that most people, we're not talking about a small subsect of people here. We're talking about the largest minority population in the world. 60% of us live with some kind of chronic health condition. So this isn't just, I think big picture is we all got to realize that this isn't the traditional thought.
You know, Hannah, I do think we are at a turning point over here, societally speaking, right? If you look back to the 1960s, when you know, a certain presidential dynasty family put a relative away because they had disabilities and nobody would talk about it, to now we're all living longer and we're seeing all of these things as integrated part of our daily lifestyles. It's becoming more common. It's becoming less scary for people, because I think a lot of not wanting to deal with disabilities is because of our own fear of having those ourselves and our own sense of humanity. So I think, generally speaking, we've made huge strides forward, which is allowing companies like yours now to exist to help move it even further along. Anthony,
look at FDR. Almost no one knew he was in a wheelchair. His entire presidency, he was in a wheelchair and nobody knew it.
Yeah.
And we have a governor.
I was about to say, Governor Abbott of Texas. Like it's not a problem. Like, hey, this is me. Right.
Matt, he was on stage right after me at what event. I had no idea he was in a wheelchair. He's just a tough governor, and he's doing what he's doing. But back in the day, that would be hidden.
Right. So I think the point, Hannah, is that what we're saying is, as these things become more visible to all of us every single day, it becomes more commonplace. And, we see this all the time. You hoteliers out there, you're focused on creating great accommodations for your guests. We've had folks on here on our show on wheelchairs before that have commented about like heights of beds and how we could work better. We've had folks that talk to people, that have talked to us about folks in the autism spectrum, for example, and how we could create more stimulation-free environments for those types of people. So it's nice that now we could focus on how to empower folks to be the best employees possible. So, Hannah, before we wrap up here again, you also have some other solutions as well, right? You're doing stuff on HR and pregnancy and mental health. How are you thinking about all of these other solutions that you offer?
All those solutions fall right into Americans with Disabilities Act. So, again, I think we have it's a very common misconception that disability equals wheelchair or someone on the spectrum, for example. But this covers all folks with, as long as what you're living with impacts one or more major life activities that you do, like hearing or seeing or lifting or thinking, then it can be qualified. So these are a lot of different kinds of things. And we're just trying to create a better and safer way to do this. And Glenn, you're right. I think hotels have made a lot of progress in their accessibility for their guests and their patrons. I was in the Wynn Las Vegas a few weeks, or I guess it's been 2 months now. And I noticed that every single room had an accessible shower versus just that, it used to be that one bathroom would be there'd maybe be one room on the floor that would be accessible. So I think we're making strides.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Anthony and I were at Wynn Las Vegas just last week. And you know what? You're absolutely right. But the difference is it didn't look like an ADA shower. And it was just, to me, it was just a shower with a nice glass door on it. So I think that's a really great point, because a lot of times you have these ADA rooms and they don't look good and they don't feel good for the customer. So it's great to see that they had made it invisible pretty much.
And the last thing and listen, there's not anyone that I'm talking to right now or anybody I know that can't reach their arm and hit a person in their family that either has anxiety or a disability or something. We all have it, and we have somebody either we're suffering from or somebody close to us is suffering. And the last thing people want to do is bring attention to themselves. Last thing they want to do is go into a room and feel like I have a special. Right. They want to go in the room and feel like it's a nice room and anybody can stay in this room. And by the way, it has accessibility for me, but it's not antiseptic. A lot of these rooms are very much look like hospital beds or hospital rooms, I should say.
Yeah. But listen to this. Daniel's saying, hey, it's rewarding to grow, learn, and innovate. I have an autistic employee. Promoting comfort is important to him. He is our hardest worker, so we must have everyone on board understanding compassion. How does that make you feel?
I love it. I didn't see what your name was, but great comment. Keep that employee.
The cards. Yeah. Yeah. That's the best. And again, gotta underscore that one more time. You're missing out on a great population pool of potential employees that are probably going to be more loyal and work even harder than us average Joes out there. Anthony, do you want to say something else?
Just saying, like, you're starting to see in commercials a lot more diversity, but you're still not seeing enough diversity when it comes to people suffering with disabilities, and that's unfortunate. And hopefully we'll start seeing that a little bit more. A lot more.
I love it. Hannah, how about a really good plug for Disclo?
I'll give you a hat if you reach out to me. Just kidding. Come find us at Disclo. We're definitely looking to work with hospitality brands. We've been working with some of the greatest companies in the world here already. But I think the hospitality industry needs some help when it comes to supporting our people. So I had to leave the hospitality industry because I was sick, and we shouldn't have that. There's ways that we can support people. So come reach out to me. Would be happy to chat. And the good thing is I have a hospitality background, so I understand your biz.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Hannah. You are amazing, and keep up the good fight. Anthony, I love that she was inspired by a real life situation, and that's prompted her to try to make a difference in so many other people's lives.
And listen, it's hard enough in our industry to get hospitality or hoteliers to really look what's happened in the last 40 years, right? In hospitality. And all of a sudden takes COVID, we get better wages, we get better working conditions, we get flexibility, right? So that's been the mindset for a long time. The harder you work and the more you don't complain, the better we like you. And now that it's changing, the flexibility is changing, especially that you can work from home now. Hopefully Hannah and her company will be successful. And I'm sure you can make some really great connections for her.
Yeah, I think we could both do that. And hey, but we can't do it alone. We need your help out there to help get this movement started. One way to do that is you can follow us on our audio podcast. Make sure you do that we can re-listen to this episode. Share it with folks out there so they know how easy it'll be to hire these folks that are going to be great for your hotel. Also, follow us on novacancynews.com, No Vacancy News on YouTube, and of course, our respective Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages. All right, Anthony, it was a fun week. It was good seeing you.
Good seeing you. I'm headed to New York.
All right. Yeah.
All right. See you Tuesday.
See, everybody have one. You've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
My people.